Hi guys, let's discuss current affairs. And before we begin, I have some feedback to share with you. This is come from Niharika Shukla. Now she says there's some positive feedback for us, and more importantly, a question from her. Hello, time team. Please forward. Okay, fair. I'm Niharika Shukla, preparing for bank exams. So I follow your current affairs lectures. So okay, I some positive feedback. Um, I keep forgetting, sir. I keep forgetting numerical data, like budget data. Could you please do one session on how to memorize current affairs? So like you taught the word assassination. Um, yeah, your some again positive feedback. Like how do we how do I motivate you? Well, that's my job. I'm a teacher. Yeah, I'm a teacher and a hardcore teacher. As I've been teaching for about 20 years. So, motivating students is something that is important because I believe that motivation should be like food. Yeah, this is a question apart from the usual question like what Niharika has asked, how do I remember data? One question I am after now, asked is like I follow what you say, Bharat. Yeah, I follow what you say. You talk about reading. You talk about learning more and more, but importantly, I keep forgetting. So how do I remember? That's a question I am often asked. Now, another thing I'm asked is that, well, I get motivated by what you say when you say you work hard. I get motivated. I pick up things. I start to read. I start to learn. But after about 15-20 minutes, the motivation goes down. I'm like, I get distracted. I look at, this side. I look at that side. I look this side, that side. And I go back to what I usually do, watching TV, chatting with friends, listening to music. Well, see, these are ordinary things. Please know that you and I face similar problems. Okay. One way, let me tell you, motivation is like food. Okay, you require it all the time. You need to motivate yourself with certain ideas. You need to tell yourself that look, you're not preparing for these questions. You're learning this to become better. You're learning this to not just answer a question in the exam, but learning this is a reflection of the attitude you have. That look, I am here to learn. I'm listening to Bharat sir's class to learn. Yes, what he says could help me answer a question. What he shares about, let's say, Uganda, let's say a country called Uganda, or about tax collections in India, could help me answer a written exam or an interview question. But more importantly, if I push myself a little harder, that is beyond the class, and continue to learn these things, it will help me, build a certain attitude towards learning, and one that will help you throughout your life. Because a lot of people stop learning, and in fact, why stop learning? Some people never learn. Yeah, people go to their college, they hardly learn anything. They come out with degrees, but the degree, those degrees don't help get jobs because companies, organizations would hire you for the knowledge you have, not just for the degree you have. Okay, what will they do with the degree? You ask yourself this question: if I were an employer, let's say, put it positively, if I'm an employer, would I hire someone, just because they have a degree, or would I hire someone who has not just the degree but also knowledge of the things that I do, or at least has the curiosity or the willingness to learn? Because willingness to learn is a very important skill to have. It's a skill. Many people do not have that skill. Many people don't cultivate that skill. Now, how do we learn? Please remember, learning is a reflection of our attitude. अगर हमें सीखना है, okay, if I have to learn, if we are to learn, then we need to build this attitude that look, I'm going to learn this for to become better, to make myself more confident so that I become more confident in facing an exam, an interview, and more importantly, for the future ahead. So, knowing a few things is not going to harm you. Just like you're curious about your neighbor, be curious about things that matter, things that are important from not just from the exam point of view, interview point of view, but also from for a career point of view, entire career. Okay. Now, how do we remember? This is the question that Niharika has asked. Yeah, this is how do I remember data? Now, the thing about data is that I personally work very hard to learn, remember, and to tell Niharika, I wrote things here. I wrote it here. Okay, I'll read this for you, and even before that, I'll tell you something that this is a notes I've made, and when I make notes, you see here, I drag arrows one here, this links to that kind of thing. Now, the idea behind this is that now I'll tell you point by point how to learn, but the idea behind this is that I write. When I write, I have clarity, greater clarity. So nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy, and it's very difficult to, remember things. Trust me. Okay, but before I go into telling you how do we learn, I'll tell you something very general. Okay. Make learning a part of normal life. Don't put yourself under strain. Niharika and everyone, each one of you, my friends, please remember, learning should be everyday. It should be an everyday, ordinary thing. जैसे हम खाना खाते हैं, it should be like, okay, I'm going to eat, I'm going to learn. You can't be telling the word, look, don't disturb me, I'm learning. No. Learning should be a normal part of life. So how do we learn? And before that, something simple. Pick anything you want to learn about. Okay? Be it let's say the features of the Indian economy, something that you pick in a newspaper, something that you pick in a magazine. The magazine we share with you, a current affairs cracker. Yeah? Pick anything of your choice. Tell yourself, before you start to read, before you start to learn, tell yourself two things. One, that I may not understand everything. Two, that I may not remember everything. One, that I may not understand everything. Two, I may not remember everything. Universal issues. There are some subjects that you are comfortable with. There are a lot of things that we are not comfortable with. So like, I am not comfortable with mathematics. Okay. I'm not comfortable with math. So what I do? Well, I will try to read. I'll try to understand. And I know that my degree of comfort is very low there. So I may understand 20% of what I read. Maybe less. But if I read something on, let's say, on the Pallavas, I read something on the history of the Pallavas, or the Srivijaya Empire of Indonesia, or let's say the Ashanti tribe somewhere in Africa, I'll be pretty comfortable because I'm interested in that. But is it likely that I'll understand everything that I read about the Ashanti tribe? Not necessary. Okay. So you need to tell yourself that, look, in the time that I'm going to spend learning here, two things may happen. One, that I may not understand everything, and two, I may not remember everything. So start to read. There are some parts you have understood, some parts you have not understood. Go. Second sentence, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Spend 15 minutes. Don't be disappointed by what you don't remember, what you don't understand. Never be disappointed. Never be, disappointed and frustrated with what you don't understand, what you don't remember. Tell yourself, it's okay. It is okay. Start to read. Start to learn. At the end of those 15 minutes, 15 minutes is a good time. 15 minutes is a good time. You tell yourself that while I may not understand everything and I may not remember everything, I still have some basic idea as I read this, as I learned in this 15 minutes. After the 15 minutes, you have got some basic idea. I'm sure you would have got some basic idea. You would get some basic idea. So the idea is to spend some time every day in learning things that we are comfortable with. Maybe we are clueless about. We have no idea about it. So if you are asked to learn about, let's say, if you are asked to know about the Election Commission of India, what would you ask yourself? Election Commission, you close your eyes and what can you think of? Conducts elections to what? Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, okay. President's office, Vice President's office. Think like this. Out of these four and more, there are more. If you are able to recall one or two, that's good, na? This is how we will learn. It's not going to happen overnight. So I'll tell you what I wrote here. Okay, these are the things that I wrote for Niharika and each one of you. I may not know your name, yeah, it's okay, but I'm going to share with you, my friends. Fair? I want you to learn. I want you to become better. I want you to build a better future for yourself. There are a lot of people who don't work hard. Don't join that club. Work very hard. Build a better future for yourself. And in the process, if it takes time away from your from you doing your favorite things, so be it. Like first point I wrote here is understand data points. Whenever you read something, understand it. Okay, understand data points. How do you remember these data points? See, when I read something, what I try to do is to understand it in some context. Okay, Pakistan's area. What is Pakistan's area? I'll write it here. Okay, in most papers you would say Pakistan's area is 8.83 lakh square kilometers. This is Pakistan's area. Lekin, this is what you would find in books that are foreign, but in Indian books you will find that Pakistan's, where is this? Yeah, Pakistan's area is slightly different. What is this? This has come to me randomly. I never thought of taking this example, but because I am comfortable, I remember these data points. I'm able to talk about these numbers. Now, how do you remember this number? See, this is what Pakistan claims it is, is its area, but this is what we say is its area. Now you may wonder, अरे यार इतना फर्क कैसे है? It is what 0.4 plus 87,000 square kilometer difference. The government of India says 87,000 square kilometers is what Pakistan claims in excess of what we believe its area is. But then you have to realize 87,000 square kilometers is the area it has occupied in India. You got this? This is the logic. Okay. So what is India's area? 32,87,563. Some sources will put it at 263. Hardly matters. Okay. Take 32.87 lakh. 87 lakh. Now, if you say 32.87 lakh, you have to remember this number. Think about this. What is this excess? What is Pakistan's excess area? 87,000 square kilometers. Yes. You can remove this straight away. This is how you remember. Means 87,000 extra there is what they occupy in Kashmir and Ladakh. So you don't remember all these things, but you remember one thing. Acha, Kashmir. There is a lot of area in Kashmir, J&K that Pakistan has occupied. There is a lot of area in Ladakh that Pakistan has occupied. So how much has it occupied? You could say 87,000. That is a difference in the area of what Pakistan claims is its full territorial area and what India says it is. So this does not include the areas occupied by Pakistan in Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. Okay? See, you put them in some context, you remember. Very simple. How do you remember this number, 1947? Think about it. You remember it as a year India became independent. Yes. Now, what is the context? India's independence is the context. Otherwise, the number is useless. You got it? If we say, let's say, 1945, what context? We don't remember it. We would not think much about it. But if India had become independent in 1945, we would have remembered that and not 1947 if nothing important would have happened in 47. Yes or no? That's how it is. So it is, the data is important because it is in some context. The context is much more important than the data itself. Or maybe the data has become important because of the context. 1947 is important because India became independent of British rule that year. So understand the context, and in that case, in that way you can understand the data. Okay. Now, and there's you can look at it this way. Um, you were born in some year. Let's say you were born in I shouldn't say 1980. Yeah, you were born in, let's say, 1990 or 95. Let's say you were born in 1995. I know it's a little. I'm just taking some year. 1995. Anything important that happened in 1995? Why don't you now? Second way of learning: add unknown things to known things. What's a known thing? Known thing is your birth year. You were born in that year, so anything important had happened in that year, so add that event to your birth year. It will become important, it will become easy to understand. So second thing is linking unknown things to known things. Linking unknown things to known things. Look, I personally learned that way, linking unknown things to known things. How do I link? I open a Wikipedia page, let's say sometime. Okay, I open a Wikipedia page, and what I do is, as I read, Wikipedia has all these links, hyperlinks. I click on one of those links and it takes me something else. I'm comfortable with X, but I'm not comfortable with Y. So what I do is I learn more about Y, and I'll add Y to X, because X is something I'm comfortable with, but I'm not comfortable with Y. So 1 and 2 are very important. Understand data point in some context, and second thing, add unknown things to known things. Okay, and I believe that that's a good way of learning. See, on your way out, कहीं बाहर जा रहे हैं, आपने you seen these Nike stores. Okay, Nike footwear stores, apparel and all, the sports goods and all. So what would you find there? Let's say sometimes you won't find the name, you will find just this tick mark, isn't it? What would you call it? Arey yaar, tick mark. Someone would say, if someone does not know about Nike, let's say you have a cousin who does not know about Nike. Okay, so what would the cousin say? Arey, is dukaan ka naam kya hai? If the cousin is not curious, next time he walks into the store and buys some stuff there and comes out, and you ask him, kahan se kharida? Where did you buy this from? Sometimes I use Hindi. I'm not a Hindi myself, but it just comes out. Okay. The guy would say, oh, that shop here where there is a tick mark. The tick mark wali shop. You may wonder what is tick mark shop. But if you can recall this tick mark to something you have added, okay, this is guys talking about the Nike store. So what will you call this Nike? You tell him, that, you don't tell him what, man, you don't even know. You don't tell people what they don't know. You don't show off your knowledge. You should always put it in a way, okay, acha, that Nike store you're talking about, you put it that way. Yeah, you don't tell people they don't know. Tell people in a matter of fact way, that Nike store, yes, that Nike store, that's pretty good, man, they sell very good stuff. Always praise good people, what people have bought, because it's good actually. See, the next time you see the tikku marku, you will call it swoosh. So learn about ordinary things, that way you'll remember better, trust me. This tick mark is the name of the Nike logo, but you do not know that it has a name. So what is the name? Swoosh. Was it? Swoosh. So I would suggest you learn like this. It is going to take some time, but eventually if you learn about things that are ordinary, normal, you will do much better. The next time you see Nike, it's a name of the Greek goddess of victory. Greek goddess of victory. In Hindu culture, the goddess of learning is Saraswati Mata. Similarly, in the culture of Greece, the goddess of victory is called Nike. That's it. So, how do you remember this? On all Olympics medals, on the reverse side, you will find an image of Nike. Yes. You will image of Nike goddess. That's it. It's easy to remember when you learn about pretty ordinary stuff around you. These are all data, these are all facts and figures. So ordinary things. So apart from this, of course, I wrote here. I'll keep sharing in the next class. Also, I share more methods. Write it down. Write it down, and in a small chit I wrote here. Write it down. Dash small chit slash. Put it up on fridge, door, screensaver. See, what you do is this. Let's say you learn about this Nike, or you learn about the Pakistan occupied area, yeah, in India. So what do you say? 87,000 square kilometers. Okay, 87,000 square. K is kilo, kilo is 1,000. So you on a sheet, a small sheet of paper, let's say a small sheet of chota is half of it. You take a small sheet, write it there. Pakistan occupied territory in India. Pakistan occupied territory in India. Okay, you remember this. Second thing you can remember is India's total area, 32.87 lakh square kilometers. So automatically you remember these numbers now. Yeah, that's how you are adding. And you put it, write it, and put it like 3-4 points only. Put it on some door that you frequent. Ghar pe some door, fridge door, bathroom door, or anywhere. Or see screensaver. See, I write a lot of stuff. My phone has this feature where I write a lot of stuff. So what I do is, I write stuff. I write like this. What I do is, it's on the screen now. It's on the screen. It's a note phone, so it's on the screen. The thing about the thing here is that when you write something, take a photo of it and use it as a screensaver. Through the day, you will keep looking at it. You will always pick your phone. Yeah, you know how we are. So you pick your phone, just look at it. Okay, this will go on. You repeatedly look at that thing, it will go into your brain automatically. So 3 things in this class that I have suggested. In the next class I will suggest more. Understand data points in the context. 2, link unknown things or unknown things to known things. And 3, write it down and use it as a screensaver or put it as a pocket chit paper. Chota. Din mein 10 baar dekhiye. Look at it 10 times a day. What will you lose? You lose nothing. Na? That's how it is. It's good to learn. Yeah. We have spent considerable time today on this, but I hope you use some of these methods. Yeah, I'm going to share as we go further. I'm going to share. Let me take you further on this. And whom of the following persons was recently appointed the world's first independent expert for human rights and climate change by the UNHRC? What is the UNHRC? The United Nations Human Rights Council. United Nations Human Rights Council. United Nations Human Rights Council, Geneva. I think in the previous class we looked at this. Geneva is where the head office is, and Federico Villegas is the president. He's the president, and you know what? He comes from Argentina. And how do you remember Argentina? See, I am very comfortable with Argentina. It's the 8th largest country in the world, and I know a bit of the modern history of Argentina. But what you should know is that Argentina, the name comes from the name of an element. It's the only country in the world to be named after an element. What's the element? Argentinium. Silver? Yeah. Yeah. What is the symbol for silver? Try to recall it. Add Argentinium to that. Yeah. And you'll find that Argentina is related. Okay. Easy to remember that way. So Ian Fry, he comes from Tuvalu. He is from Tuvalu area. Tuvalu, as you know, is a small island in the Pacific Ocean. What do you call Oceania region? Okay, Tuvalu. So Tuvalu is one. Tuvalu is one. Okay. And who are these guys here? Who are what are the choices like? Guy Ryder. Currently, he is the Director General of the International Labour Organization. He is the current Director General of the International Labour Organization, but he's retiring, and he'll be replaced by what is his name? Um, what is this Togo guy? Yeah, Gilbert. You see now, am I struggling? Not really. I pretend that I am struggling. Most of the time, I am like this. I never tell people, even if I know the answer. If you ask me what's the capital of India, I would think like this. Okay, it's. I have learned this. You should never ever blurt out things. Yeah. Gilbert Humbo will be the new Director General of what is this? The International Labour Organization. He comes from the small country of Togo. Togo. See, there's an old joke about Togo. You see, this is how I remember. You can say that. To go. In America, parcel service. You walk into a restaurant and ask for a burger. They may ask you to go or having it here. So to go means taking it home, taking it outside restaurant. Get it? Yes. So there's an old joke about it. It's like, what is a restaurant preference, dining preference for most Africans? Yeah. In Togo, it is to go. I know it's a bad joke, but that's how it is. Amal Clooney is a human rights lawyer. She is one of the world's finest human rights lawyers, most always in demand actually. And she, along with her, that Clooney comes from the name of her husband, surname of her husband, George Clooney, considered one of the finest actors Hollywood has produced, and of course she is considered one of the most handsomest men in the world. Okay, Filippo Grandi. Filippo Grandi is what is that? He is also from the UNHRC. He is a United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. You could write this: United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. Don't get confused. This is HRC, this is HCR. This is High Commissioner. That is a Human Rights Council. David Malpass, President of the World Bank. President of the World Bank. Yeah, President of the World Bank. Emmanuel Macron will face Mari, not Marine. It's Mari here. I think it's Mari. Le Pen in the runoff for presidential elections on 24th April. Emmanuel Macron is the president of France. Yeah. See, France is a pretty large country, not very large, of course. How big is France? This is France. But if you look at it this way, it's like shaped like a hexagon. That's why it's nicknamed hexagon. Okay. It's called hexagon. Nickname of France is hexagon. The hexagon. And its area is 6.43 lakh square kilometers. So if you add Rajasthan 3.42 and third is Maharashtra, this is Rajasthan, Maharashtra, you get somewhere close to, these two states would be slightly larger than France. Where? So this, and how big is the population of this country? About 6.7 crore. 6.7 crore. That would be smaller than Maharashtra, either Maharashtra or Rajasthan. Yeah, either Rajasthan or Maharashtra. Yes. So guys, that's France, and you see France has a lot of territories overseas. See, this is all part of the French Empire. Mayotte, Reunion Islands, they're all owned by France. They are all owned by France. In fact, if you look at this is the largest overseas territory of France. French Guiana, it's in South America. French Guiana. Some of these like Mayotte, Reunion Islands, French Guiana, yeah. There is this place called Martinique here and Guadeloupe, sorry. They're all given the same stature as the provinces in France. These are overseas territories. OTs they are called, overseas territories, but they have the same stature, same political rights as the provinces in France have. Okay, so he is the current president, and he is facing a stiff battle. I follow a channel called France 24. I'm in fact This is France 24. It's a very good app. You could have it on your phone. I would suggest you have it on your phone because this is a kind of app that is generally not owned. It is not owned by the French government, though it's funded by them. So this is France 24. Good app actually. Okay, and they are very critical of the government. Yes, whoever means they say they are bipartisan, that is they don't favor anyone, but let's see. I am generally not I don't take such claims easily. Yeah. Anyway, I'll just give you the names of the, usually we take the names of the presidents, prime ministers, so we'll keep it light in this class. This is already a heavy class with so much that we discussed in terms of learning. Greece's capital is Athens. The prime minister is Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Chill. Italy's prime capital is Rome, and this is where you find the Food and Agricultural Organization. Food and Agricultural Organization. But Spain's capital is Madrid. Spain's capital is Madrid, and this is where you find the World Tourist Organization. World Tourism Organization. Germany's capital is Berlin. Plenty of things in Berlin, but let's keep it simple. Yeah. Which of the following nations will allow 1 million pilgrims to reform the Hajj pilgrimage? To perform the Hajj pilgrimage this year. Saudi Arabia has custody of Mecca, and this is Medina and this is Mecca. These are the two. These two are the holiest of Islamic sites in the world. Most holy Islamic sites are these two. Okay, so it is said that every Muslim, should perform Hajj at least once in their lifetime. But this is again, the book allows for, provided things go well. And it should always be the Hajj should always be performed with one's own funds. That's why the government of India took away subsidy from this later. But for years, for decades, the government of India used to subsidize the pilgrimage of, the Hajj pilgrimage. So later they said that if some communities said that if you could give subsidy, if you give subsidy there, give subsidy to us also to visit the holy places in our faith. So whatever, this is Saudi Arabia. This is the capital Riyadh. It's a pretty large country. You see, this is a very large country, and this is called the empty quarter. This area is called empty quarter. Find out what is this on Google and all that. Hey, you know what? I do a lot of this flying into these places. I have flown to Kandahar, Quetta, Peshawar, Islamabad, in Colombo, Naypyidaw, Rangoon, or called Yangon, Kathmandu. You know how? Through Google Earth. I go to all these places. Yes, it's fun. Try this. Take one place and go somewhere. It's fun, nah? Yeah. You could visit Mecca or Medina like that. You could visit Tehran. You could visit Damascus in Syria. You could go to Israel. Nice place. You could go to Dubai. What I'm saying is, use all the resources you have. See, we have on our phone all these things, Google Earth. If you don't have it, download the app and all that. We should use every resource that we have in a way that will benefit us. See, if you use it for Instagram, use it for Facebook, you use it for to watch movies or listen to music. How are you different from the Dudwala? How are you different from the milkman? How are you different from the vegetable seller? The guy does the same things. Your cousin who does not have access to all the things, who's not interested in building a future for herself or himself, uses the same tools that you use. But if you use them well to learn, you'll be different from your cousin. Use the same tool, same phone and all that, but use it differently. Okay. Iran's capital is Tehran. Today we will keep it light, as I told you. Qatar, Doha, and Qatar is going to host the 2022 FIFA Men's World Cup. 2022 FIFA Men's World Cup, and also the 2030 Asian Games. 2030 Asian Games. Saudi Arabia's Riyadh. This is the capital. And this is going to host the 2034 Asian Games. 2034 Asian Games. This is Kuwait. Yeah, the capital is Kuwait City. This is the place that was occupied by Saddam Hussein in 1990 and converted into Iraq, an Iraqi province, 19th province. So, I think on Netflix there is a show on Saddam, the House of Saddam. It's on Hotstar or Nike and Netflix. Watch it. It's a 4 episodes thing. It tells you about the story of Saddam Hussein. It tells you the story of Saddam Hussein. UAE, this is the United Arab Emirates. 7 Emirat Kingdom, that is kingdom. 7 Emirats came together to form one country. This is the UAE. Okay, and you see this same color as Oman here at the top. This is Omanian territory. UAE capital is Abu Dhabi. You see this, Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi. World Homeopathy Day is observed every year to spread awareness about homeopathy and its contribution to the world of medicine. April 10th. April 10th. So, why on that day you could write this? To celebrate the birthday of, it's in memory of the birthday of Dr. Christian Hahnemann. Christian Hahnemann, the father of homeopathy. World Health Day. World Health Day. That's the day on which in 1948 the World Health Organization was established. April 11th is National Safe Motherhood Day. Very important. Safe Motherhood Day. April 13th is very important in our history and in our country's history. It's a Jallianwala Bagh Massacre Day. The Jallianwala Bagh Massacre Day or Jallianwala Bagh Day. Jallianwala Bagh Massacre Day. So, okay, there we go, guys. And on 13th April 1919, about 1500 or 2000 persons in the freedom fighters, Indians, were at the Jallianwala Bagh. They were there to protest the arrest of 2 freedom fighters, Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Saifuddin Kichlu, and they called for their release. They were at the Bagh, and the Bagh had only one entrance. 3 sides it was surrounded, by high walls, and the British army came there. One guy called Brigadier R.E.H. Dyer. He came there, and then he asked his soldiers to fire at the peaceful protesters. A lot of people died. We don't know how many because protests vary. Some say 329, some say the figures vary. Some say 329, some say 1500. So numbers are there somewhere. Okay. So large number of protesters died because of the inhuman attitude of the British. They were cruel, to say the least. Yeah. So protesting against this, Rabindranath Tagore, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, returned his knighthood. He was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize in 1913. He was the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize. He won it for literature, in the category of literature. And he was knighted. He was Sir Rabindranath Tagore. But he protested against the inhuman treatment, inhuman attitude of the British towards Indians, and especially in light of the massacre at the Jallianwala Bagh. So he returned the knighthood. He returned the knighthood. So, April 17th, Hemophilia Day. Hemophilia. Hemophilia is a disease. It's a genetic disease. Hemophilia. HA. Hemo means blood. Phil means love. Okay. Yeah. It signifies the absence of the feature of clotting. There is this genetic disorder. It's a rare disorder which leads to a lot of blood loss, especially because there is no clotting. So the absence of certain enzymes that lead to clotting, is what hemophilia leads to. So when there is no clotting, what happens is the blood flows like water. So if there is a cut here and I'm a hemophilic, so blood flow won't stop. But normally, because I do not have the disease now, if there is a cut here, the blood would 2-3 drops, 4-5 drops would come, and then it would stop, because blood clots in my body. This is how it is. I never give my personal examples, but I wouldn't say let's say you have hemophilia. Why would I say that? I have, but you shouldn't have. Yeah. Which of the following statements regarding India's tax collections in financial year 22, that is 21-22, are true? All of them are true. The total tax collections touched an all-time high of about 27 lakh crore in financial year 22. 49% growth was registered in direct tax collection, that is income tax, corporate tax, and everything. India's current revenue secretary is Tarun Bajaj. Yes. The current tax to GDP ratio, tax to GDP ratio of about 11.7% registered in financial year 22. So I was going through this article. Here, okay, in a newspaper called Mint. I read a lot of stuff, all kinds of things. So here it says India's total tax revenues in the financial year that ended on 31st March touched an estimated 27.17 trillion. Trillion is lakh. That's 27 lakh. Now you look at this. What does it say? The number is here. It says, second part of the sentence, surpassing the revised estimates for that year presented in the budget by 3.1 trillion, means this 27 lakh is in excess of what the budgeted figure was. The budgeted figure was that we are going to collect a tax of about 24 lakh crore, but we collected 27 lakh crore, which means we collected more. Now, why did we collect more? That is something I learned through this article. You could actually look up the RBI website also. You'll find these kinds of things. One of the reasons why the collections were very high, the percentages look very big, is that the base effect was very low. In 21-22, what is the base effect? This is the year, okay? This is a base year, and the year under review, current financial year, let's say, not current, previous one. So the data for this will be based on this calculation percentages. So in 2021 was an actual pandemic year, COVID year, things went very bad. Even though in 21-22 the first 3 months were very bad, April, May, June were like the second wave year months, but we still did better. Did better because of two reasons. One, corporate performance was very, very good. Corporate performance was very good because of two reasons, of course. One, cost cutting. A lot of companies had to fire people or embark on cost cutting. Second thing, there is a high pent up demand for lockdown. During the lockdown period, everything has stopped, so there was a great demand for goods and services in the once the economy opened up. So that is where corporates made record money. Okay, And of course, a lot of public sector units paid. The third reason is okay. Let's look at it. One, low base effect. Two, very good corporate performance. Number three, what is it? Tax payment, advanced tax payments by public sector units. Yes, a lot of tax was paid in advance by public sector units. In fact, the numbers were about 33% up over previous year. So no, 38% up over previous year. So public sector units usually pay in advance because that money goes to the government and the government owns the public sector unit. So the usually private sector companies pay later, government companies pay in advance. So anyway they have to pay, but they pay in advance because this is to shore up the collections of the government. The fourth reason is a very weird one. It talks about digital payments. Now a lot of switching to digital payments has happened. Okay, like I'm of course all my money is in white because I'm a salaried guy, but I make all the payments in white. All through digital means, credit cards, debit card, UPI. Yeah, I use only digital mediums. I almost never use except for the small 100 rupee kind of payments. In fact, even that I don't use. So what happens is through digital payments, when you make a digital payment, it is easy to trace it. Where has the paisa come from? Where has the money come from? Where is it going? All that stuff. So a lot of people now cannot escape taxes and everything. So, businesses, you may say a business may refuse. Okay, I would say if you refuse, if I come to your shop and if you refuse, you don't take credit card, what will I do? I'll go to some other, because I don't have money, let's say in my pocket. Yeah, I have only a credit card, or I have money, but I don't want to use my money. I want to use, I don't want to pay cash. I want to pay only through debit card. What will I do? I'll ask you, will you accept? If you say no, what will I do? I'll go to someone else. So the shop guy says, okay, let me sell. So this is where a lot of digital payments have helped collect more taxes. And there is also another reason. The article I read talked about was that a lot of individuals have been hired by the technology sector at higher salaries. Higher salaries would mean higher taxes. Yeah, that's how it is. So are this likely? The article in the end talks about, is this likely to sustain? Unlikely, because things are pretty bad world over. So who of the following persons recently became the 23rd Prime Minister of Pakistan? Shehbaz Sharif. He is a new Prime Minister of Pakistan, 23rd. Think about it. You know what? I'll tell you. The Prime Ministers of Pakistan, the first guy was a guy called Liaquat Ali Khan. Liaquat Ali Khan was the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. Okay, and he was a Prime Minister between 1947 to 51. Fair? But once he resigned, between 1951 and 58, there were 7 Pakistani Prime Ministers. Yes, you could look it up. Yeah, or you could say there was 6. So if between 47 and 58, there were overall 7. So from this to this, there were 7, and from this, just this. Look at this. Pakistan has never had a prime minister who's completed a full term. Do you know that? Not a single prime minister in Pakistan has yet served a full term of 5 years. The longest was, if I'm not wrong, by Raja, Yusuf Raja Gilani. Yusuf Raja Gilani or Gilani, you can say Gilani or Gilani. He was a prime minister for 4 years, 86 days. Now, do you have to remember this date, Niharika? No. But you could say, yeah, he could have completed. He was in his final year. You could say that of ruling as prime minister. He was in his final year of prime ministership. See, you remember that way. You don't remember the exact numbers like I somewhere remember. But the shortest term that any Pakistani prime minister has had was this guy called I. Chundrigar. He was prime minister for 55 days. His shortest term in India was Atal Bihari Vajpayee. He was Prime Minister for 13 days the first time. Second time he was Prime Minister for 13 months. I'm not wrong. Yeah. So 13 days, 13 months, and then full year, full term. Yes. So the choice 2 is the Pakistani president Arif Alvi. Arif Alvi is the president of Pakistan. So Home Minister Amit Shah recently inaugurated the Indo-Pakistan border viewing point called Nara Beth in the Banaskantha district of Gujarat. Yes. It's like they want to have something like the Wagha border kind of thing. The Wagha border is more or less it's a tourist attraction. Similarly, they want to have something like this here. So they are doing the similar kind of retreat function, everything here. So, by the way, do you know what is the India-Pakistan border called? The India-Pakistan border is called Radcliffe Line. Maybe I'll tell you more about this in the next class. Yeah, Radcliffe Line. I remember that I told you in the previous class that I will discuss the China-Tibet thing. I found that it's not very interesting and not something that you would like it. It's not masala stuff. It's quite boring. I don't teach such stuff in the classroom, but I learn, so it's not really interesting. But yeah, Radcliffe Line, it could be, maybe in the next class when I tell you, you would find it interesting. Yeah, I'll tell you a story. So the India-Pakistan border is called Radcliffe Line. In fact, India-Bangladesh border should also be called Radcliffe Line, though it is not. Okay. Notwithstanding logistical challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, India's agricultural exports touched a new milestone by crossing. The answers there. But I want you to write something here. Total exports of India, exports, financial year 22, financial year 21. Okay, total exports for 420. Hey, all figures in $billion. Billion. Okay. So this year we have had the highest exports ever. Our target was $400 billion, but we exceeded. Now it's 420. Yeah, we exceeded by $20 billion. The previous financial year, the realized number was $292 billion. From 292, we have come to 420 in 1 year, my friend. That's a huge jump. Yeah. Imports, if I'm not wrong, 612. Yeah, 612 and 395. 395. How do I remember? Let's say 395. The number of articles, original number of articles in the Constitution in 1947. When we adopted it in 1949 or we enforced it in 1950, the original number of articles was 395. That's how I remember it. Okay. How do I remember 612? This was the score. This was the number of wickets that Anil Kumble took. Against this runs in the Hero Cup final something. Don't worry too much over this. I'm just kidding. But that's right actually. He took 6 for 12 something. 420 though, if I don't have to tell you a story, nah. Why is it 420? Why do you call someone who's a fraud 420? Because under IPC, Indian Penal Code section 420 is about fraud. Okay. That's how it is. 292, I think it's the highest score, slightly one run more than the highest score of Javed Miandad or someone. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. See, the trade deficit is very high now. You can see that the total trade has gone up. India's total trade has gone up to $1 trillion, which is record, my friends. Huge. But you see the deficit. The deficit, India's imports are much more than its exports. So deficit is $192 billion. That's a trade deficit of India. Trade deficit arises when imports are more than exports. trade surplus when there are more exports than imports. Okay. Whom the following golfers won the 2022 Masters tournament? Okay, the answer is Scotty Scheffler. It's not highlighted. This is the answer. Scotty Scheffler. See, this is also called Augusta Masters. This is held in a place called in the town of Augusta in the American state of Georgia. Augusta in Georgia state, US. Okay. Now I want you to write something more here. See, this Georgia is named after British King George the Second, if I'm not wrong. George the Second. See, next to Georgia, there is a state, American state called Virginia. You know what is it? It's named after Elizabeth the First. She was born in 1533. Don't remember this. Okay. 400 years later, Adolf Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany. That's how you remember. 300 years later, who was the emperor, Mughal emperor at this time? 1833. 1833, Akbar the Second was the emperor. Akbar the Second. You don't have to remember that. I'm just telling you. So Elizabeth the First. आप सोच रहे होंगे Virginia and Elizabeth, how does it relate? Elizabeth the First had a nickname, the Virgin Queen. The Virgin Queen. Yes. And at the time she became the queen, she was not married, and they give a nickname to her, Virgin Queen, and hence Virginia, named after Elizabeth the First. That's how you remember. Which has become the first country in the world to give legal rights to wild animals? See, animals don't have rights unless we give them. That's something you should know. Okay? Animal rights are conferred by humans on them. So Ecuador, this is Ecuador. It's the only country in the world, I have told this in the past as well, named after equator. This is equator. This is equator, Ecuador, Spanish word. So because the capitals are mentioned in this map here, I'll just tell you the names of the leaders of these countries. Okay? Where do we start with? Ecuador? Pedro Castillo. No. Ecuador. Sorry guys, you don't have to. Yeah, fair. We'll start with Uruguay. Louis Lacalle Pou, or you simply write Louis Pou. Bolivia. Hey, this is Bolivia. It's mentioned La Paz as a capital. There are two capitals, La Paz and Sucre. Was it? Sucre. Two capitals. In fact, this La Paz is the highest capital city in the world. Okay. Altitude wise, that's what it means. Altitude wise, it's the highest capital city in the world. So if you look at yes, Bolivia, the president is a guy called Louis Archie. There are two Louis, na? Yes. Neighbors, not very neighbors. Yeah. So this is Uruguay, Louis Lacalle Pou, and La Paz. The funny thing about Bolivia is one of the only two countries in South America to be what we say, landlocked, and it is named after Sam Bolivar, who gave his name to the country, who led the foundation, who led the freedom fight, against the Spanish rules. This entire country, or entire continent was ruled by Spain, occupied by Spain, entire thing. Yeah, this French Guyana and all that. This French Guyana, this is British Guyana, and this is Suriname. What is it? Suriname. Yeah. So Bolivia and Paraguay are two landlocked countries, but Paraguay has an outlet to this particular water body, Atlantic Ocean, because of the rivers. There are rivers here through which these are basically they drain here, so there is an outlet. Bolivia doesn't have it. Colombia, this is Colombia, and Colombia, my friends, is Colombia is run by a guy called Ivan Duque. Ivan Duque. This is the right spelling. Okay, I may I may actually tell you something more. Yeah, but it is the right spelling. You know, I may tell you, sir. I may have that expression that look, oh, some doubt. Bharat has a doubt. As you know, my name is Bharat C. Jain. My name is Bharat C. Jain. So, you know, I just a second now. I just need to disconnect this. So, this is named after Christopher Columbus. Yes, it's the only country in the world named after Christopher Columbus. Now, you see, these are pretty large countries. You can see these are all large countries. Some of these are very large countries, and you know, the smallest country in this part of the world is this French Guiana. But if you discount this, I think the smallest country would be Suriname. Yeah, Suriname. If you look at Paraguay, the president here is called Bentos. You could write this Mario Bentos. Mario Benitez. Spanish names, na? So Mario Benitez. Ecuador, Guillermo. I am a little doubtful, but I think yeah, 100. I am 99.99999% sure this is the name of the president. Guillermo Lasso. Guillermo Lasso. How do you remember the word lasso? Lasso is a rope used by cowboys to, you know, to catch an animal. You see this? There is a knot. There is a ring here at the end of the rope, and it's thrown like this. That's called lasso. Okay. Yeah. Whom of the following became the first batter in the IPL history to be retired out during the match? Ravichandran Ashwin. See, these guys are playing. Rajasthan Royals was playing against Lucknow Super Giants, and Ravichandran Ashwin, though he was playing very well, his strike rate was not very high. So about 9 balls into the end of the match, before the end of their innings, he retired out. He simply walked away. Okay, it's called retired out, which is different from retired hurt, because retired hurt is when the body gets hurt. The body does not, you know, help the player continue playing. So that is when players retire from playing and playing in that match. But this is retired out. The guy said, okay, I'm out. So he just walked out. You see this in gully cricket. You see this in gully cricket. He did this so that the next batter who comes in, you know, who is a big hitter, could do better than him, which he did actually. I think there was a guy called Rian. Yeah, Rian came in and he did quite well actually. Rian Parag was his name, I guess. Noted poet and literature, Professor Ram Darash Mishra will be awarded the prestigious Saraswati Samman for his collection of poems titled Main To Yahan Hoon. Yeah, the Saraswati Samman is sponsored by the KK Birla Group. KK Birla Foundation is Krishna Kumar Birla Foundation. Krishna Kumar Birla Foundation. Krishna Kumar Birla Foundation. Okay. Krishna Kumar Birla had three daughters, and while he had owned companies like Zuari, Chambal, you know, fertilizers and all that, Hindustan Times, his daughters took over all these things later. Okay. Yeah. Ramdar Singh is a professor of, he retired as a professor of history, a professor of Hindi literature at Delhi University. Delhi University. What is a Saraswati Samman? The Saraswati Samman is given to the best literary work in any of the 22 scheduled languages. 22 scheduled languages. in any of the 22 scheduled languages. Yes. Asia's largest sewage treatment plant is expected to play a big role in the Yamuna cleaning process, and this has been opened at Okla. Okay, this will be opened at Okla in the last month of this year. Yamuna, Ganga. You see, Ganga is the longest river in India, completely in India, not exactly complete in India, but if you look at Yamuna is the longest tributary of any river in India. It's the longest tributary. उपनदी बोलते हैं शायद हिंदी में. Tributary. It is about 1376 kilometer long. Yamuna rises in the Yamunotri glacier in lower Himalayas, which are called Bandar Pooch mountains in lower Himalayas. Bandar Pooch mountains in lower Himalayas. See, Yamuna is said to be the daughter of Bhagwan Surya and Mata Sanjana. Bhagwan Surya, sun god, and Mata Sanjana. Who's Sanjana? Cloud goddess of clouds. Badal. So if your name is Sanjana, or you have a cousin, you have someone, a friend or someone who's named Sanjana, please know that Sanjana means goddess of clouds. Yeah. And many people say that Yamuna is also the twin sister of Yama. Amazing stories. Right, wrong, true, false hardly matters. It's a beautiful story that matters. Yeah? Belief is always beautiful. Whom are the following persons will be the coordinator of the G20 summit to be hosted by India in 2023? The outgoing Foreign Secretary of India, Harshvardhan Shringla, outgoing Foreign Secretary of India. The previous class we learned the name of the new Foreign Secretary, so we will not bring back that guy in. Okay, and I want you to write just one thing: G20, group of 20, developed and developing nations. So G20 has all G7 plus India, Indonesia, South Korea, China, Saudi Arabia, then you would find South Africa, Brazil, Russia, a lot of these countries. Turkey is there. So, yeah. At least 25 persons have been killed so far. Okay, landslides in Philippines after tropical storm and all that. So everything about Philippines mentioned in this in these 4 points. Sorry guys. Alright, sorry. My eyes are burning. All these are right. This is Philippines. You see this country here? Philippines. This is Philippines. Okay. This is named after, what all you find here is fine. This is named after King Philip II of Spain. King Philip II of Spain. Spain ruled this country between 1568 and 1898. Spain ruled this. Okay. So that year in 1898, America took over the country and gave it independence only in 1946. 1946. I'll tell you this story later. Okay. The president of Philippines is, I think in the previous class we took the name. Anyway, it does not matter. We'll just finish this what we started. Rodrigo Duterte. Rodrigo Duterte. You could also write purchased BrahMos missiles from India. BrahMos missiles from India. Purchased BrahMos missiles from India. Next, President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Very long name. Simply Andre Obrador is fine. Recently celebrated a divisive recall freedom referendum. Sorry, he is the president of Mexico. Mexico is pretty large. It's not in the map, but Central America is in the map. Okay, I wanted to write about Central America. Maybe just the capitals, maybe just the currencies or the presidents or the leaders or the whatever. Okay, so the capitals are mentioned here. So this star mark means the capital. Okay, so I will not go to the capital. I'll take you to some other place. Panama. This is Panama. It's a country where you have the Panama Canal, and the Panama Canal for the first time in 1904, 14, yeah, when it was started 14 to 14, you know, it was inaugurated in 14 if I'm not wrong. It was the workers started here at this time. America took over the work in 1904. That's when the French gave up, and this Panama Canal, okay, linked the Atlantic Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. Otherwise, ships had to go through the whole of South America in the past. Yeah, that was very bad. Anyway, so you have this Panama's president. You write this. Panama's president is a guy called what is his name? Laurentino Cortijo. Yes, I'll write here. Laurentino Cortijo. Costa Rica. Costa Rica. This is country here. Yes, this one. They should have used some other color, rather than this similar color. They could have used some blue somewhere or some red. Costa Rica's president is Carlos Alvarado. Carlos Alvarado. Belize. This is Belize. This is Belize. Bricino. Johnny Bricino. Johnny Bricino. What's there? Honduras. Honduras is this huge country here. Yeah, and the president is this woman named Xiomara Castro. The currencies are easy to remember, but don't write. Like Honduras, Lempira, Costa Rica, Colon, yeah, Panama, Balboa, and what is that? Belizean dollar. Belizean dollar. Don't write. Not the International Day of Human Space Flight is observed on 12th April every year. On this day in 1961, the first human space flight was carried out by Yuri Gagarin of what is this place? The USSR. The Yuri Gagarin, USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics or Soviet Union. The spacecraft was called Vostok. The first. Vostok 1. Vostok 1. Okay. What about Valentina Tereshkova? Valentina Tereshkova, first woman in space. First woman in space. Alan Shepard, first American in space. This is, see, 90% of the questions I discuss the choices. Rest, of course, they are touch and go questions, but generally I discuss choices as you've seen. This is where we can add value. Okay. Whom of the following persons will be honored with the first ever Lata Dinanath Mangeshkar Award instituted in memory of the veteran singer who passed away in February 2022? Narendra Modi, for his service to the nation. Okay. So we will not discuss anything here. Allah Rakha Rahman, A.R. Rahman, Allah Rakha Rahman, Lal Krishna Advani, Sachin Tendulkar, Amir Khan. Okay, fair. India successfully flight tested Helena from an indigenously developed helicopter at high altitude ranges. Helena is an anti-tank guided missile. Anti-tank guided missile. India also has Nag, anti-tank missile. Anti-tank, another kind, anti-tank missile. Okay. India does supersonic cruise missile BrahMos. BrahMos. Okay. See, India does not have a hypersonic cruise missile. Interceptor missile also we are working. Yeah. Technically we are working. Medium range ballistic missile we have, what is that called? Prithvi. Depends on the range actually. See, what's medium? Up to 700 kilometers Prithvi. Okay. 150 to 700 kilometers, different versions of Prithvi. You can also look at Agni. Agni is between 700 to 9,000 kilometers. We have tested, you see, this one, last we tested was 6,000 kilometers. Now we are testing something that would go beyond 9,000 kilometers, but that's in the testing, stage. Agni is called both an IRBM and an ICBM. Intermediate range ballistic missile, IRBM, and intercontinental ballistic missile. Intercontinental ballistic missile. A two-day national conference on cooperation policy was organized in April in New Delhi. Nothing to discuss. Minister of Cooperation, Union Minister of Cooperation, Amit Shah. Amit Shah. Yes. Calcutta, you would find the Geological Survey of India, Geological Survey of India, Botanical Survey of India, Anthropological Survey of India, Ahmedabad Physical Research Laboratory, Which of the following which of the following organizations give guidelines, regulations, norms, etc. for all banks to follow, thus assuming safety and stability for bank depositors' funds in banks worldwide? The Basel Committee for Banking Supervision is an extension of the BIS. Okay, it was set up by the BIS. So we should write about BIS. BIS is the central bank of central banks. Fair, you could write this. Established 1930. 61 central bank as members. 61 central banks members. And the general manager, they call him the general manager, is Augustin Carstens. Augustin Carstens of Mexico. Headquartered, we didn't write head office now. Basel or Basel. Some people call it Basel. Switzerland. Assets pledged by a borrower to secure a loan or other credit and subject to seizure in case of default are called collateral. Co means with, lat means side. So side by side, if I lend you this money, what will you put here? I put money here, what would you put here? Security. In case I borrow money from you and I don't put it security with you and I default, you would lose your money. So lenders typically say personal loans not much, but home loans and everything, they say, or gold loans for the matter, if I lend you money, you should put some security, because that is security for me. In case you default, I can sell this off, or I can, I'll get something of higher value. Yeah. So collateral is something side by side. Participatory notes are like contract notes issued by FIIs. See, some foreign institution investors are not registered. Typically, to get registered, there's a lengthy process. But they want to invest, let's say, in the Indian stock market. So the government says, the SEBI says, no problem. You don't have to register as a full-time, investor. You could do one thing. You could just simply take a participatory note and sell shares in the Indian stock market. So this permission is given by SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India. Securities and Exchange Board of India, my friends, is headed by Madhavi Puri Buch. Madhavi Puri Buch. Yes. Okay. So basically, these are tools that help foreign institutional investors sell shares in the Indian stock market. Okay. Otherwise, they would not be allowed. If they don't have PNs, they would not be allowed. A bond issued at discount and repaid at face value is zero coupon. Coupon means interest. So interest is zero. Face value is, I buy from you for 10,000 rupees. Okay. It has no interest. So I buy at, let's say, it's 10,000. I buy, sorry guys, at 9,700 rupees. It's a bought at discount, but again repaid at 10k. So the difference is actually interest, but technically it has no interest. On paper, this is a 10,000 bond, it has no interest, but since it is sold at a discount, someone gets something. So if I give you, if I need money, so I will take this from you. I'll take this from you. So coupon means interest. Just remember this. Zero coupon means zero interest. Most preferred loan portfolio with least defaults for retail bank lending as per banks is that of home loans. Why Q? Because in these, there is a collateral. There is a collateral here. There is a collateral here. These two are collaterals, absolute collaterals. Okay, there is always a security here, because in case I take a home loan, I default, the bank will seize my home. So people, because it's an asset, they don't want to lose. They keep repaying some way or the other. But when it comes to other things, since vehicle loans, car loans, everything, there is an asset here. Educational loans, a lot of people don't repay. Customer loans, because of certain difficulties like pandemic and all that, many people have defaulted this time. Credit cards, in the previous class I told you, it's an unsecured loan. What is it? Unsecured loan at no interest. It's basically a loan at no interest. So you look at this. Housing loans. What is the default rate? 2.1. Here credit cards, public sector banks 12.7. Yes. Auto 2.2. Education 7.2. Look at this. So people are borrowing money, education loans, everything, but they are not paying back the loans. So see, everywhere educational loans are at a foreign banks, they rarely lend any money unless someone has exceptionally high liquidity, exceptional high financial capability to repay. They don't lend to ordinary borrowers. So if you look at private sector banks and public sector banks, they lend and they lose a lot of money through education loans. But coming to auto loans, there is asset here, there is asset here. Um, Public sector, very difficult to credit card. Many people default. But if you look at private sector banks, they have very bad ways of collecting money. Okay, that is why private sector many people don't default. Even if they default, they would default with the public sector bank, but not with the private sector bank, because they have very uninteresting ways of collecting money. They come home, they harass you and all that stuff. It's a bad thing. Okay, so in all, home loans are the safest bet for a bank, because there is always collateral, there is always security. So is vehicle loan. That's why they are always after you to take this loan, buy a home kind of thing. Okay, I hope you learned a few good things today. Thank you for being here. And as I said, we will discuss the rest of this. How do we learn more in the coming classes to come? And maybe in the next class, I'll tell you about the Radcliffe line as well. Thanks for being here. It's been a pretty long session. Thank you so much, my friends. Have a lot of fun. Stay curious.